Namaste and welcome back, everyone. Today, we're going back in time, kind of to colonial India, to explore a story that's both heartwarming and heartbreaking. We're talking about Master Mashai, a short story by the one and only Rabindranath Tagore.
Ah, Tagore, not just a writer, but a philosopher, a social reformer, a true visionary. His stories are like a reflection of India's soul, exploring the intricacies of human relationships, societal expectations, and the clash between tradition and modernity.
And Master Mashai is a perfect example of that, isn't it? It's like a delicate dance between love, loss, and misplaced trust, set against the backdrop of a society in transition.
Absolutely. And it all begins with Adharlal, our main character, a miserly man obsessed with money. You could say he was the kind of man who would count the seeds in a pomegranate before eating it.
Ha ha ha. I can just picture him meticulously counting every rupee. Tell us more about him. What's his family like?
Well, Adharlal has a wife, Nanibula,
Yeah.
and for years she endured his penny-pinching ways. But then their son, Venugopal Venu, for short, arrived.
Ah, the arrival of a child. It changes everything, doesn't it?
Indeed. Venu became the center of Adharlal's world, his heir apparent. And Nanibula saw an opportunity to finally persuade her husband to loosen those purse strings a bit for their son's education.
Oh, I bet she made the most of that.
Yeah.
So how did young Vinu's education begin?
Adharlal initially hired a stern old schoolmaster, the kind who believed in rote learning and harsh discipline.
Not exactly the most inspiring learning environment.
No, not at all. Venu wasn't thriving, and Nanibula complained that the teacher was making her son ill with his gruff ways, so they had to let the old teacher go.
And then comes the turning point, right? The arrival of someone new.
Exactly. Entered Harlal, a bright young man, but from a poor family. He had struggled through his own education, supported by his widowed mother's sacrifices. He was eager to work to prove himself.
I can imagine the contrast, this impoverished young man standing before the wealthy, miserly Harlal.
Tagore captures that contrast beautifully. Harlal, with his threadbare clothes and worn-out shoes, timidly asks for a chance. And Adharlal, always looking for a bargain, sees an opportunity to get a tutor on the cheap.
5 rupees a month, plus food and lodging, that's all Harlal got. Barely enough to survive on.
Yes, but this arrangement wasn't like the previous one. This time, something special happened. Venu and Harlal formed a bond that went beyond student and teacher. They became true friends.
Ah, the beauty of unexpected friendships. What was their bond like? What did they do together?
Imagine this. Venu, the only child in a house full of adults, finally has a companion his own age. And Harlal, who had always longed for companionship, showers Venu with affection and attention. They were inseparable.
It sounds idyllic. What kind of things did they do together?
They spent their days feeding the fish in the garden pond, building a miniature playhouse, and sharing stories from the grand epics of the Mahabharata to the adventures of Robinson Crusoe. Tagore portrays the innocence and purity of their connection with such tenderness. It's heartwarming to read.
This sounds like a beautiful friendship. But this is Tagore, so we know there must be some shadows lurking beneath the surface.
Right. You're absolutely right. Nanabula Venu's mother started to grow suspicious. She couldn't understand why Hardalal was always around her son. Her mind, perhaps influenced by societal prejudices, went to a dark place.
She suspected something sinister.
Yes. She began to believe that Haralal had ulterior motives, that he was manipulating Venu to secure his position as tutor, that he was after something more than just friendship. And this suspicion, my friend, is what sets off a chain of events that will change everything.
Uh-oh. This sounds like the calm before the storm. What happens next?
It starts with a theft at Atharlal's house.
A theft. Oh no, don't tell me Haralal gets blamed.
Sadly, that's precisely what happens. Haralal, the poor, vulnerable tutor, becomes the immediate suspect.
How unfair.
It was a classic case of societal prejudice fueled by class differences and assumptions about poverty. Even though there was no real evidence against him, Haralal was ostracized, forced to leave Atharlal's house and fend for himself.
This is heartbreaking. What happens to Haralal after he leaves?
Haralal, determined to make something of himself, manages to find work at a large mercantile firm working under a demanding English manager. Long hours, extra responsibilities, he poured himself into his work.
Driven by the need to prove his worth, I imagine.
Exactly. And through sheer hard work, he earns a promotion and is finally able to bring his mother to live with him in a small house. A small ray of sunshine amidst the storm clouds.
But I'm guessing the shadow of that false accusation still lingers over him.
It does, and so does the memory of Venu. Hardalal's mother, bless her kind heart, is curious about the boy her son speaks of so fondly. She wants to cook a special meal for him, invite him over. But Hardalal keeps finding excuses, doesn't he?
Is it guilt? shame,
Hmm.
or perhaps he simply cannot face Venu after everything that happened.
Tagore leaves that open to interpretation, which is part of what makes the story so intriguing. He invites us to ponder Harlal's inner turmoil, his complex emotions.
And what about Venu? How is he coping with the loss of his friend and the changes in his own life?
Well, time has moved on, you see. Venu is no longer the innocent boy Harlal once knew. He's older now, sporting a new mustache, trying to appear more mature.
That image of him stroking his budding mustache speaks volumes, doesn't it?
Indeed. He's trying to fit in with a new, more sophisticated crowd. He's even embraced a more lavish lifestyle. His room is no longer the simple student's den it once was.
It sounds like Venu is drifting further and further away from the boy Harlal once knew, a change brought about by time and circumstance.
Sadly, yes. And then comes another blow. Venu's mother passes away.
Oh, how awful. So much loss in such a short time. I imagine this tragedy brings Harlal and Venu back together.
They do start seeing each other again, but the dynamic has shifted irrevocably. They are no longer teacher and student or even close friends. There's a distance between them now, a chasm carved by misunderstanding and time.
And I bet that distance becomes even more apparent when Harlal finally gives in to his mother's wishes and invites Venu over for dinner.
You hit the nail on the head. Venu charms Harlal's mother with his good looks and polite manners. But the moment dinner is over, he's off like a shot, checking his gold watch, claiming important engagements.
Ouch, that must have stung. It seems Venu has become quite self-absorbed.
It's a clear sign of how much he has changed. He's become preoccupied with his own world, barely acknowledging the love and sacrifices Harlal and his mother have shown him.
Poor Harlal. He tries so hard to do right by everyone, and yet he keeps getting hurt. I have a feeling things are about to get even more complicated.
Oh, you have no idea. Remember, Venu had expressed a desire to go to England and become a barrister.
Yes, and his father was dead set against it.
One evening, Venu turns up at Harlal's house, and he's not there for a friendly chat. He's in a real state, agitated and distressed.
What happened? Another fight with his father, perhaps?
Worse, much worse. Venu has discovered that his father is planning to remarry.
This is just piling on the heartbreak. It seems like everything is falling apart for Venu.
He feels like he's lost his mother all over again, and now he's about to lose his place in the family. He's desperate to escape. He believes going to England is his only option, but he needs money. A lot of it.
And he thinks Harlal can help him.
He does. You see, Venu has seen the bags of money that Harlal brings home from work. Remember, he's responsible for distributing funds to brokers and middlemen. And in his desperation, he asks Harlal for a loan. A large one.
Oh, no, he wouldn't.
He does. He asked Harlal to lend him the money for his passage to England.
I can't believe he would even ask.
Remember, Venu has changed. He's consumed by his own needs, blinded by desperation. He doesn't see the impossible position he's putting Harlal in.
And of course, Harlal refuses. What happens next? I have a feeling this is the calm before a very big storm.
You are absolutely right to be worried, because just when you think things can't get any worse for Harlal, they do.
I have a bad feeling about this.
One Friday night, a carriage pulls up outside Harlal's house, and out steps Venu. But not the Venu we've come to know.
Oh, what's different about him?
He's decked out in fancy clothes, a Parsi coat, trousers, a cap. He's dripping with gold rings, a thick chain around his neck, a watch glinting in his pocket. A far cry from the simple student we met earlier.
It's as if he's transformed into someone else entirely.
He has, in a way. He tells Harlal that his father's wedding is tomorrow, and that he's going to stay at their garden house in Barrackpore, far away from the festivities.
It seems like he's trying to erase his old life completely, starting with his appearance. But something doesn't feel right.
You're right to be suspicious. It's a desperate attempt to reinvent himself, to escape the pain of his past. And then just as he's about to leave, he does something that will have devastating consequences.
He asks Harlal to hold on to those fancy jewels for him.
Exactly. Rings, watch, chain, he hands them all to Harlal, asking him to keep them safe until he returns. And Harlal, ever the trusting soul, agrees. But little does he know that those jewels are the least of his worries.
Oh dear. This is getting intense. We'll have to stop here for now, but trust me, you won't want to miss what happens next. So we left off with Venu decked out in all his finery, leaving his jewels with Harlal and heading off to escape his father's wedding. What happens next? I'm on the edge of my seat.
Well, as fate would have it, this is where things take a truly unfortunate turn for our dear Harlal. Picture this. He's just finished counting a large sum of money for work, thousands of rupees, all set to be distributed the next morning.
Oh, I can already sense trouble brewing. We have bags of money, Venu's jewels tucked away, and Haralal caught right in the middle. It's like a ticking time bomb.
Indeed. Haralal, tired from a long day, has dinner with his mother, leaving Venu alone in his room with the cash. It's a decision that will come back to haunt him.
Oh no. I bet he regrets that decision later. What happens when he returns?
The night deepens, and Haralal and his mother retire for the night. Venu bids them good night and is left alone in Haralal's room.
This is where my anxiety is really kicking in. What happens next? Does Haralal notice anything amiss?
Unfortunately, not right away. He trusts Venu implicitly, and he has no reason to suspect that anything is wrong. So he locks the money in an iron chest, places the key under his pillow, and drifts off to sleep.
This is classic dramatic irony, isn't it? We, the audience, know what's coming, but poor Haralal is completely in the dark.
Tagore is a master at building suspense. He even gives us a glimpse into Haralal's dreams, a strange, unsettling vision where Venu's mother appears, her words unclear, but her jeweled ornaments flashing like accusing needles.
That's such a powerful image, the jewels as symbols of guilt and betrayal. It's as if Tagore's giving us a subtle warning of what's to come.
Exactly. It's a foreshadowing of the turmoil that's about to unfold. Then suddenly Haralal is jolted awake by a gust of wind that blows out his lamp, plunging him into darkness.
Oh, the darkness. It symbolizes the unknown, the uncertainty that Haralal is about to face.
Precisely. He fumbles for matches, his heart pounding in his chest. It's 4 in the morning, not much time left before he has to leave for work. As he's getting ready, his mother calls out to him, mentioning a dream she had about him bringing home a bride.
That sweet, innocent mother, completely oblivious to the nightmare that's about to unfold. So does Haralal finally discover the truth.
He returns to his room, ready to collect the money and head out for work. But as he reaches for the bags, his blood runs cold. 3 of them are empty.
No, it can't be.
He frantically shakes the bags, knocks them against the iron chest, hoping against hope that it's some terrible mistake. But deep down, he knows the truth.
I can only imagine the shock, the feeling of betrayal that washes over him in that moment.
He finds 2 letters, one addressed to him and the other to Adharlal. With trembling hands, he tears open his letter and tries to read, but the words swim before his eyes.
Please tell me what the letter says. The suspense is killing me.
The truth hits Haralal like a physical blow. Venu has stolen 3,000 rupees and is already on his way to England. The steamer sets sail before daybreak.
Oh, the betrayal. The audacity of it all.
Venu tries to justify his actions in the letter, claiming that his father will eventually repay the debt and that his mother's jewels, the ones he left with Haralal, will more than cover the stolen amount.
But that's not the point, is it? It's the violation of trust, the sheer recklessness of it all, that makes this act so devastating.
Exactly. Haralal is reeling, trying to grasp the magnitude of what has happened. His friend, his former student, the boy he loved like a brother, has robbed him blind. And now he's left to face the consequences.
So what does he do? He can't just sit there paralyzed by shock.
He acts purely on instinct. He grabs Venu's letter to his father, scoops up the leather bag containing Venu's jewels, and rushes out to find his former pupil.
He's going after Venu. But the steamer has already left.
It's a futile chase fueled by desperation and a sliver of hope. He races to the jetty, frantically searching for the steamer that took Venu, but it's like searching for a needle in a haystack. He doesn't even know the name of the ship.
This is such a heartbreaking scene, isn't it? The frantic search, the realization dawning on him that Venu is gone, lost to him forever. It's a powerful reminder of the fleeting nature of youth and the bitter sting of betrayal.
As he returns home, defeated and empty-handed, the weight of the world descends on him. Calcutta, the city that once held so much promise, now feels like a suffocating trap.
It's as if the walls are closing in and there's nowhere to turn. What happens when he gets back to his house?
He collapses, fainting from exhaustion and the sheer emotional turmoil he's enduring. When he comes to, his mother is hovering over him, her voice filled with worry.
Of course, she has no idea what's truly transpired, but she can sense her son's distress.
Haralal tries to brush it off, telling her with a strained laugh that he went out to bring home a bride. But the facade crumbles and he's forced to retreat to his room, leaving his mother to fret outside.
That contrast between Hardalal's inner turmoil and his mother's innocent concern is so poignant. She's like a fragile bird fluttering around her wounded chick, desperate to shield him from a world she doesn't fully understand.
It's a beautiful, heartbreaking image, but the harsh realities of the situation come crashing down when there's a knock at the door.
It's the servant from the manager's office, isn't it? He's there to collect the money.
Exactly. He urges Haralal to hurry, saying they'll miss the train, but Haralal, his voice hollow, tells him he can't leave that morning.
The stakes just got even higher. He's facing the consequences of Venu's actions, and the clock is ticking. What does he do?
He remembers the jewels Venu's last-ditch attempt at redemption. He clutches that leather bag along with Venu's letter to Adharlal and heads out into the chaotic streets of Calcutta.
He's going to confront Adharlal, but wouldn't that expose the theft, put his own job at risk?
It's a desperate gamble, a last-ditch effort to salvage something from this wreckage. He arrives at Adharlal's house just as the wedding festivities are about to begin. The air is filled with the sounds of celebratory music, but beneath the surface, something is amiss.
Oh, what's going on?
There's been a theft at the house. Some of the wedding gifts have gone missing. Servants are being questioned. Accusations are flying, and Adharlal is in a towering rage.
The irony. Haralal, the victim of a far greater theft, arrives with news of yet another crime.
It's a classic example of how Tagore layers his narrative with meaning and irony. Haralal approaches Adharlal, requesting a private conversation, but Adharlal, preoccupied with his own problems, dismisses him, assuming he's there to beg for money or favors.
This is just adding insult to injury.
Ratikanta, Adharlal's loyal sidekick, sensing the tension, offers to leave, but Adharlal, suspicious and irritable, orders him to stay put. Finally, Haralal hands over the leather bag containing Venu's jewels.
He returns the jewels before even explaining what's happened.
He does, and Adharlal, with a sneer, accuses Haralal of being in cahoots with Venu, of staging this whole charade to claim a reward.
The injustice, it's unbearable.
Haralal tries to explain, handing Adharlal Venu's letter, but it only fuels the fire. Adharlal, enraged, threatens to call the police, accusing Haralal of kidnapping his son and manipulating him into signing a promissory note for 3,000 rupees.
But Haralal insists that he never lent Venu any money, right?
He does, but his words fall on deaf ears. Ratikanta joins in, sarcastically remarking that Haralal has probably never even seen that much money in his life.
This is heartbreaking. It seems everyone is determined to paint him as a villain, even though he's the one who's been wronged.
Shattered and defeated, Haralal leaves Adharlal's house, numb to the accusations swirling around him. As he walks down the lane towards his own home, he spots a carriage waiting outside. For a fleeting moment, a glimmer of hope flickers within him.
Oh, I can only imagine what he's thinking.
Yeah.
He must believe it's Venu come back to apologize to make things right.
Wouldn't that be something? But alas, as he gets closer, he realizes it's not Venu at all.
No, don't tell me
It is. It's an assistant from the firm sent by the manager to investigate.
So we left off with Haralal facing that life-altering choice. Redeem himself by finding the missing money or face the consequences. But where does he even begin? He's like trapped in a web of misfortune, just spun by circumstance and betrayal.
Cruel twist of fate it is. Tagore, he doesn't offer any easy answers. Instead, he focuses on Harlal's internal struggle, you see, his descent into despair.
So what does Haralal do with this impossible task before him? A whole day to find 3,000 rupees. That's a king's ransom in those days.
He wanders, you see. The streets of Calcutta, the city that once held so much promise, now feel like a labyrinth of shadows and judgment. He passes the bustling marketplace, the grand colonial buildings, the crowded ghats along the Hooghly River, but nothing offers solace.
He must be like walking through a dream. Everything familiar yet distorted, filled with an unsettling sense of displacement.
He sees the faces of merchants, laborers, clerks, but no one recognizes him. No one offers a kind word. He is a ghost in his own city, invisible, unheard.
This isolation must be crushing, adding to the weight of his guilt and despair.
The hours crawl by and the sun begins to set, painting the sky in hues of orange and purple. Haralal finds himself drawn to the Maidan, that vast expanse of green in the heart of the city.
Is he seeking refuge in nature? A moment of respite from the chaos of his life?
Perhaps. Or maybe he's simply drawn to open space, a place where his thoughts can wander freely without the confines of walls and judgmental eyes. He sits on a bench, watching children play. Family stroll lovers whisper secrets.
A bittersweet scene, isn't it? Life goes on around him, oblivious to his inner turmoil.
The contrast between Harlal's inner world and the outer world is stark. Here in this peaceful park, there is laughter-joy connection. And yet Haralal is completely alone, consumed by his own guilt and despair.
It's as if Tagore is highlighting the duality of human existence, the beauty and fragility of life juxtaposed with the harsh realities of betrayal, loss, and societal injustice.
Exactly. And as darkness envelops the Maidan, a sense of calm descends upon Haralal. Not a calm born of resolution, but of surrender.
Surrender. Does this mean he's given up hope of clearing his name, of finding the missing money?
It's not so much about giving up, but rather a letting go, a realization that he cannot control the events that have unfolded, that his fate is no longer in his hands.
What a profound realization. It's as if he is acknowledging the limitations of his own agency, the powerlessness of the individual against the forces of destiny.
As the stars begin to twinkle above him, he closes his eyes and breathes deeply. He thinks of his mother, her unwavering love, her simple joys.
It's a poignant moment, isn't it?
Yeah.
Even in his darkest hour, he finds solace in the memory of his mother's love.
And in that moment of surrender, something shifts within him. The weight of his guilt lessens, replaced by a sense of peace. Not a peace born of resolution, but of acceptance.
Acceptance. Does this mean he's made peace with his fate, whatever it may be?
Perhaps. Or maybe it's something more profound. A recognition that life is a tapestry of light and shadow, joy and sorrow, and that true freedom lies in embracing the totality of experience.
This is a beautiful and profound insight. It suggests that even in the face of immense suffering, there can be a kind of transcendence, a deeper understanding of the human condition.
The ending, as we know, remains ambiguous. Tagore doesn't tell us what ultimately becomes of Harlal. Does he return home to face his mother? Does he vanish into the anonymity of the city?
It's a question that each reader must answer for themselves.
But perhaps the more important question is this. What do we learn from Harlal's journey? What does this story teach us about trust, betrayal, and the enduring power of love?
These are questions that resonate deeply with all of us, aren't they? Tagore, through his masterful storytelling, invites us to explore these timeless themes, to confront the complexities of the human experience.
Master Mashai is not a story that offers easy answers or tidy resolutions. It is a story that lingers in the mind, prompting us to reflect on our own lives, our own choices, our own capacity for both love and betrayal.
What a fitting end to our exploration of Master Mashai, a story that challenges us, moves us, and ultimately leaves us with a profound sense of wonder.
Thank you for joining us on this journey. Until next time, may your own stories be filled with both light and shadow, and may you always find solace in the enduring power of love.